Here's the deal. My friends at Brazen have spent the last year writing the book on recruiting chatbots. It's jam-packed with tons of the best practices and examples of companies who are successfully using chatbots to hire the best talent. We're talking companies like Walgreens, USAA, and Presidio. And because you're a listener of my show, they want to send you a free copy of the book. Just head over to brazen.com/chatbots to get a free copy today. You can get a copy sent to your door for postage, or you can download the digital version right now. Don't wait, because the book is flying off the shelves. And as a bonus, if you sign up today, they'll send you their #1 downloaded ebook on winning the war for talent. Again, go to brazen.com/chatbots to get all this for free today. Before we get started, I wanted to introduce Kevin Grossman, who's the president of the Talent Board. He has some information he'd like to share with you.
Thanks, Lauren. Appreciate being here.
And this October, you guys have a big event.
We do. So on October 14th in Washington, D.C. at the Marriott Wardman Park Hotel, we are running our Candy Symposium and Awards Gala. Every year we do research with hundreds of companies around the world and capture hundreds of thousands of candidate responses to our survey research about their candidate experience from pre-application to onboarding. And then those companies who have the highest positive candidate ratings, we celebrate them throughout the day, and into the evening, we have great speakers and sessions, and then awards dinner that evening. So that's what's happening on October 14th.
What time does it start?
It starts at 9 a.m. and goes until 10 p.m.
So it's this October 14th at the Wardman Hotel. The report that you guys generate afterwards, how can folks get that?
So they can go to our site at thetalentboard.org, and everything's available free to download.
And how can I register to come to the event on the 14th?
You go to thetalentboard.org is probably the easiest way. And if you use the code CE19VIP, you can get $50 off our registration for a total of $395 to come for the day.
Welcome back to another episode of The Lauren Epstein Show. I'm your host, Lauren Epstein, and we are here at the Social Recruiting Strategies Conference in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, the city of brotherly love. And we've been having a great time the last couple of days. And with me today is a good friend, a most eloquent public speaker on diversity and inclusion, Torin Ellis. And Torin, I was going to say, is a diversity strategist, published author. By the way, I read his book. You should read his book. And contributed on Sirius XM. He has his own radio show. Torin runs a progressive boutique human resource firm that focuses on the issues around diversity, inclusion, belonging, and equity. He works with companies around the world implementing these strategies by advocating a collaborative approach that stresses transparency and rigorous performance monitoring. He's also the host of the Career Mix Show, which is the show on Sirius XM. And if you don't know, Torin served in the United States military, which is awesome.
Absolutely.
So how was that? Is that pretty, you like that?
That's a good one. I like it.
I like it.
Yeah.
I thought it was nice.
I like the part about good friend. It means that two kindred spirits are having a great conversation around a subject that we care so much about in a sandbox that we absolutely care about, which is talent acquisition. So let's make it happen.
And what's funny, we worked together at the same company recruiting 10 years ago.
You were internal, I was external.
Yeah.
I never held that against you. Ever. I mean, we got to work together. Yeah. I've always been external, 22 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've always been outside.
So the topic was going to be on how to cultivate this new culture. And so if we were to say, okay, I run a company, I want to have my culture reflect what would be the highest and best possible outcome for human beings working together. How would you start framing the conversation?
Yeah, so let me start at the end, and I'm gonna work my way backwards, if that's all right with you.
Yeah.
And they say that successful people look at the finish line, and then we turn around and we try to figure out how we're gonna run the race. And so what I would say is that for a lot of people, they often ask me, what's the ROI of diversity and inclusion? I need you to prove to me that we should be doing this. And what I often tell them, Lauren, is that the ROI for pursuing D&I is greater humanity. So that greater sign in the word humanity. And if that's not enough to move you, then I'm not really sure what's going to necessarily move you to build better, high-performing, more diverse, representative teams. And so if I'm using that as my marker of progress, that I'm always pursuing greater humanity, then what am I going to do? Well, number one, I think what I'm going to do is take a look at every single value point inside of my organization and evaluate whether or not we have considered diversity and inclusion. Not just in talent acquisition, be it sourcing or recruiting, but I'm going to look at whether or not we've explored D&I in supply chain, logistics, accounting, corporate governance, corporate social responsibility. I'm going to look at every single value point, and for the listeners, you don't see me moving my hands, but I'm touching like all of these different areas of the business, because too many people feel like, well, D&I is only an HR issue, or D&I is only a talent acquisition issue. No, D&I is actually an issue of you and I working with one another. And if you and I in the business unit or in the department do not have the same fervor, the same desire, the same drive to create that inclusion and that belonging that we talked about in the beginning, then it doesn't even matter. And so whatever they do in terms of policy and allocating of resources and initiatives and strategic mandates, if you and I are not seeing it together eye to eye, one of us is not pursuing it. I'm going to be working hard, but somebody else is not. Or somebody else is going to be working hard to do it, but somebody's not. And then the leadership is going to say, well, this is not working right here. We need everybody looking at it in every single value point inside of the organization. That's number one. Number two, I think that it's imperative that you understand where you are as a business. You know, I think that a lot of organizations, the leadership, people that are hiring managers or people that are VPs or people that are directors, they don't know where they are as an organization. You know, we just throw a job posting up and we expect to find the right type of people. Well, then we hire the wrong people and expect to matriculate them through the organization when they're ill positioned. Here's what I mean. The talent necessary or the way that we lead a team in a startup organization is a lot different than one that's in continuous improvement, a lot different than one that's in transformation stage, maturation stage. These stages of the business are very important. And the challenge that I always throw out to people is that when you start talking about setting culture, I get it. It's a conversation that makes sense, but you got to understand that culture is an organic thing and that it's not static, it has velocity. And so inside of our business unit, over here, we may have a different type of culture and we may be in a different phase of how we are doing what we're doing. But over in that business unit, you all may be in an entire, like for instance, accounting. It's a pretty much so staid environment. There's not too many ebbs and flows to how you run an accounting department. It's pretty staid, but the engineering team is different than the project management team. It's different than the supply and logistics team. You got to know what stage of the business that you're in, and if you understand that, then it influences how you put your recruiting and team building and culture building mandates out in the ecosystem. Fair enough? Step number two.
I want to go to step. I want to keep having
Stay
you
on
going,
step
but
two.
I'm questioning.
Okay.
My question is, a lot of leaders, business leaders, look at anything they do to their business as kind of like, well, what's the best? What's out there that's visible, and can I get to that? For example, you know, Amazon gets you something in a day, right? So that's like the pinnacle. But if I talk about culture, you know, I think organizations, most companies, don't really consider it for what you're talking about because they don't think about humanity. But everything I hear now is that, look, you know, if you really want to be able to attract people and there's not enough people, you've got to attract them by what they're interested in. And people are interested in being a human being and treated like a human being and being in cultures that are diverse. So that's the only way to be competitive. And it's not like there's going to ever be an endpoint, right? Because you're talking about culture being this amorphous thing. It's a practice. Is that kind of what you're saying?
It's the core of who they are. It's the heartbeat of who an individual and an organization are. When a person's feet hit the floor in the morning and they arrive at the workplace, they were a person before they were a president. They were a person before they were a principal. They were a person before they were a director. We are people, and we've allowed ourselves to lie to one another. And I'll give you an example. We've said forever, bring your whole self to work. But we've also said, leave your problems at the door. Haven't we? So how is it that...
I've heard the latter longer than I've heard the former.
Actually, and I'll take that correction. The latter has been
started
around.
Working, nobody wanted to know.
Got you. The latter has been around longer than the former, but both of them are in our language right now.
Absolutely.
And so how is it that you, Lauren, can bring your whole self to work, but you're asked to leave your problems at the door? When you hit the floor in the morning, all of that's got to come with you. So we got to have a different set on humanity and how we operate inside of the organizations. Like, I'm not a person who suggests that people analytics and capturing data and things are not important. I'm not at all suggesting that HR tech is not important and that we should be talking about some of the things that we're talking. I'm not suggesting that at all. What I'm suggesting is that we're not talking enough about humanity.
Yeah. Well, and I keep hearing, like, for me, my the way I hear it is, it's people as a practice.
Absolutely.
Not as a get to. You're not going to arrive someplace and all is going to be well. This is going to be something that you continue to do every day that you exist in your company.
You got it. Absolutely. And then step number 3, if it's okay to move to it, is to have that tactical execution. So number 1 is making sure that we are amplifying our voices and understanding that we need to be more human in the process, keeping leadership involved. They got to be involved. Step number 2 is making sure we have that strategic exploration, knowing exactly where we are as an organization. And then step number 3 is that tactical execution. You got to get some people in there to do some work. All of that other stuff looks great on your website. Press releases look good. Sending out all of those little cue cards and reminders and text messages, tweets. All of that looks great, but some people have to do some work. And we got to be willing to get in and get tactical and grab the individuals, get close to the individuals that we need. One of the favorite words for me, it's not a supreme favorite word, but a powerful word, is proximity. And when you have proximity to people, different types of people, different types of situations, you respond and you can be a bit more emotional. That EQ steps in, that EQ amps up, that empathy amps up. It really is about being able to pull from a variety of different, I don't always have to be macho. Sometimes I have to be reserved. I have to be patient. Sometimes I need to explore what brings me joy and find that in the same individuals. What's the rhythm for them? That family piece. You know, if I can look at all of these different senses, I recruit and build and retain and inspire and motivate differently.
So when we talk about getting tactical, give me an example of what you mean by getting tactical, bringing people together.
Yeah, so tactical for me would be, let's use Black Panther, the movie. And oftentimes I get criticized for
I love that movie.
leaning on examples that are black related, but I'm gonna do 2. So number 1, let's look at Black Panther. If you are an organization that has wanted to attract more black and brown individuals, you know that the movie is doing exceptionally well. You know that in February of this year, OTRII was trending on Twitter, which was On the Run 2, the tour for Beyonce and Jay-Z. You know that it was trending. You know Black Panther is like a bomb blockbuster movie. So curate an event around that and advertise how you would bring in people in the local community, a digital watch party, something, do something that is built around intentional effort and action to bring proximity to the people that you are trying to. That's a tactical thing that you can do. Tactical. Going into the men's bathroom and making sure that you place feminine hygiene products. Now, the average man may walk in and say, well, why do we have feminine hygiene products in our bathroom? Because we may have a transgender employee in our culture. how do we make them comfortable so that they are able to do the exact same things that we do? We create so much for those that are straight or normal, but we don't go out of our way to create and include some of the, we got to be intentional. That's tactical.
So how do we deal with the resistance, right? Because clearly if this was like, hey, easy, it'd be done, but there's resistance.
So people like me are trying to run through walls. You understand? I'm not allowing anyone to be an impediment to me making and chasing this work. And that doesn't mean that
I get you, but the people who are listening, right? If they're listening to the show,
I'm telling them to do the same thing that I'm saying. You know, and in your way, Lauren, you have to figure out what walls you're going to run through, what hurdles you're going to jump over or get around. What connectors are you going to use to get to where you need to be? I shared on our podcast the other day, instead of us talking about Julie Sowash and I on Crazy and the King, instead of our talking about what we would normally talk about, we abbreviated the entire format and we just talked about what was happening with these shootings. And we just kind of riffed back and forth on the shootings because we got to amplify reality. And so I'm just encouraging people to figure out, how do you get in this fight? Because I need you in the fight. I'm not one of these people that are an isolationist. I have friends that will ask me, well, Torin, why are you working so hard to get a seat at their table? Why don't we just build our own table? And I say to my friends, well, why don't we do both? You can build the table, sit at the table, but we got to do something.
Yeah, you know, it's funny. I was asking Afote, like, do European Americans go to historically black colleges? And he's like, not really. Like of 1%, right? 1%. I'm like, well, you know, why not? He says, well, you know, one, the people there don't really want to go there to create. Like, some people will be embracing, but a lot of people will be like, look, we came to this college because we just wanted to be around people like us.
Yeah.
And it was interesting. I mean, like what you're saying is that there's even amongst populations that are like with women. I mean, a lot of women are creating their own women's functions, women-only functions. Not like, I don't see too many women creating inclusively, you know, hey, we've got this women's group, let's include men.
Yeah, well, I'm sure some are out there, but women are doing it, you know, and it oftentimes, listen, let me go back to your original example. Why do we have historically black colleges and universities? Because black students couldn't get into predominantly white or white institutions. Flat out. So people can be mad or say that we don't need historically black colleges and universities, or we don't need a black entertainment television, or we don't need a black radio station. But the reason most of those properties or mediums exist is because they were excluded from the traditional opportunities, whatever sandbox that was in. So now, an evolution of your question is, there actually are a lot of Europeans. They may not necessarily be your traditional Europeans, but there are a lot of international students that are attending historically black colleges and universities because they get to take advantage of the scholarships and the grants that are set aside for people that are minority or underrepresented.
Right.
And they, in that instance, are underrepresented. I see no issue with it.
Right.
Some people got an issue with it. I see no issue in taking advantage of that education or that access to an education. And HBCUs provide an incredible education just like PWIs.
Right. So I think we're in the middle of the story, right?
Sure.
I mean, we're making this transition. It's not like we're going to go from, you know, it's this way and then the next day it's that way.
Absolutely.
A lot of things are changing.
Which is great when you talk about your Amazon example. You know, I was about to say we can't expect inclusion or belonging to be on Prime.
That's funny. So I know you've got to run. Torin's been emceeing this event, and if you missed him at Unleash Vegas, he was amazing. I mean, he emceed. Where are you going to be emceeing next?
Well, I can't say where I'll be emceeing next yet, but I can tell you where I'm going to be speaking next.
Where are you going to be speaking next?
If that's all right. So we are going to be at the Talent Success Conference in Boston, and I want to give you those dates. It's the first week of September, so that's
Cool.
where I'm going to be.
Awesome. And you know that the Social Recruiting Strategies Conference, eBrand Con, they're going to have like a talent week. in January.
Okay.
The end of January, the last 3 days of January, where they're bringing the two conferences they've been running, plus a brand new conference together in one place in San Francisco.
Wow.
And so the keynotes are going to be speaking to everyone. And if you sign up for one conference, you can just hop into the other events.
Wow.
So like talk about inclusion, right?
Interesting.
Like you could bring your whole recruiting team to a single event and have everyone do everything.
I like that.
Yeah,
I think I need to go find out if Kara needs me in January.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
I think so.
Okay.
How can folks reach out to you, Torin?
It's real simple. Across all of the web, at Torin Ellis.
Yeah.
On the web, torinellis.com. On social media, at Torin Ellis. That's just one R.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I always love it when you're on the show. It's such a treat, and I'm looking forward to being at the next conference you're at. You've been listening to Lauren Epstein's show here at the Social Recruiting Strategies Conference. Check out the conference that they're having in January, and we'll see you on the next episode. Hi, this is Lauren Epstein with The Lauren Epstein Show, and I'm sitting here with Kara Mignelli, who is the leader of the Social Recruiting Strategies Conference and the eBrand Cons, and they've got some exciting news. They're having Talent Acquisition Week in January of 2020. Can you tell us about that, Kara?
Absolutely. Thanks for having me, Lauren. We're really thrilled about 2020, which sounded really far off when I was a kid, but thrilled to be planning for 2020. And so our vision is to take a step into the future of talent acquisition, and we're really thrilled to be hosting our flagship event, SRSC, which is the Social Recruiting Strategies Conference, as well as eBrandCon, along with a new event, Talent Sourcing Strategies Summit. We'll be hosting those three separate events together at the same venue in San Francisco this coming January 28th through the 30th. And we're providing an opportunity for people to be collaborative and learn new things. If you buy a ticket to any of our three events, we're going to allow people to go from one event to another. So the agenda doesn't overlap, except for we have some great opening keynotes, and we have a shared expo floor, and we're planning fun networking events as well.
This is exciting. I could see companies sending their entire teams of recruiting folks to learn and then network. What a great opportunity. And how can folks register now?
They can visit talentacquisitionweek.com and sign up for more information. Registration will open and the full agenda will be published.
Fantastic. Well, we're really looking forward to it. Go to talentacquisitionweek.com and sign up now.
Thanks, Lauren.
If you want to sell more to HR and TA professionals, we can help you bring your brand into the ears of over 100,000 decision makers around the world. To advertise on this and other shows, contact us at lauren@laurenepstein.com.